What I wanted to talk about was something that you guys might have heard about. So, like the BDS Boston branch Twitter account a couple of months ago linked something called the Mapping Project, which, from what I understand, is like a website that maps organizations that support Israeli colonialism in the Boston area or maybe like further around. I think it was pretty local. And this was immediately called an anti-Semitic initiative by tons of people. It's an interactive map that illustrates some ways in which institutional support for the colonization of Palestine is structurally tied to policing and systemic white supremacy here where we live, and to US imperialist projects in other countries, okay? So it's a map of organizations and that are linked to the colonization of Palestine. From what I've seen, most of them are like police. Yeah, there's 271 police organizations or police localities that are linked to the Israeli oppression of Palestine because they are trained by Israeli cops, or they, for example, buy weapons and stuff from Israeli companies, weapons that are tested on Palestinians and stuff like that. So like 80% is police. And others are like NGOs that support Israel, stuff like that, or that support the Israeli government, or universities that do those sorts of things, all that sort of stuff. And this was called by anti-Palestinian racists an anti-Semitic Jew mapping initiative, they called it, which is just ludicrous. It's fucking ludicrous. Because if there is a Jewish organization that supports the colonization of Palestine, it is totally justified to put them in a map of organizations that support the colonization of Palestine. Doesn't fucking matter who they are. If they don't want to be on the map, they should not support colonization of Palestine. It's that fucking simple. No one, for example, would be against mapping organizations that say support Saudi Arabia. No one would be against mapping organizations that support abuse in the Catholic Church. But somehow, when we're talking about Jewish organizations that happen to be supporting something that is reprehensible, and not very many at that, there's like 20 listed here in total, it's not acceptable. It just goes to show how these dishonest claims of anti-Semitism rely on essentially creating like a special standard for when something is anti-Semitism that doesn't actually apply to anything else in order to defend Israel. And I can put my money where my mouth is when I said what I said about Saudi Arabia, people funding Saudi Arabia or organizations funded by Saudi Arabia, because the European Parliament has literally conducted investigations into Saudi-funded mosques right here. No one said anything about it. No one complained about it. No one said it was anti-Muslim. No one said it was anti-Saudi. No one said it was anti-anything. And this is so far above that. Like an organization, a fairly anonymous organization from what I understand, listing pro-Israeli colonialism organizations in a map versus the actual European Parliament conducting an investigation into Saudi funding of mosques and Islamic institutions. If you did this for Israel, you would be branded an anti-Semite immediately. This is practically the exact same thing as this mapping project is, except far worse because it's on the higher level of government. Now, I don't think this support is bad, because it is a bad thing to have mosques linked to extremist Islam that is promoted by the Saudi government. But it's also a bad thing to have organizations, regardless of what kind of organization they are, whether they be Jewish, secular, or anything else, promoting colonialism in Israel. Now, let me provide a great example of the way that they are misconstruing these things. This is the Twitter account of the ridiculous stopantisemitism.org website, which essentially just does very little but try to brand supporters of Palestinian liberation as anti-Semitic. Here they say, the Anti-Semitic Jew Mapping Project, which many suspect is a byproduct of BDS Boston, targets a Jewish organization that helps the disabled. This isn't about helping Palestinians. This is about the Nazi-like vilification of Jews, plain and simple. Sickening. Okay, so the Mapping Project, Yashad, New England. Yashad, New England is the regional branch of Yashad, or Yachad, I don't know how to pronounce Hebrew, a national organization for Jewish individuals with disabilities and their families. Okay, let's look up Yachad, New England. Here is their website. Let's see how many clicks it will take me to find them supporting Israeli colonialism. Is it an organization that helps Jewish disabled people? Yep, it does that. No doubt about it. But it also does other things. Apart from that, the Yad B'Yad Israel Experience, an inclusive touring program to Israel for high schoolers and young adults with disabilities. They are promoting colonialism. It doesn't matter if they're promoting colonialism for people with disabilities, they're still promoting colonialism. They're saying, hey, come here. We'll take you on a great trip to Israel. What else is there? Birthright Israel. Birthright Israel, free spirit with Yashad. They literally run colonization trips to Israel, promoting Jewish people in New England to go and colonize Palestine. Now, these might be people with disabilities. It doesn't make it okay. You can be a disabled colonist too. So this is a completely justified inclusion in this mapping project, because this is not simply an organization that helps people with disabilities. It is an organization that helps people with disabilities to colonize Palestine. Not the same fucking thing. They have to be incredibly dishonest about it. Like, it's like taking a charity that, for example, donates to a church that everyone knows abuses children and just saying, oh my God, they're targeting this charity that helps people, leaving out the fact that the reason why they're doing it is because this hypothetical charity donates money to a church that is known for fucking pedophilia. And right here, this is an organization, a charity, an NGO that helps disabled Jewish people, but it also sends them to colonize Israel. Obviously, this is not remotely anti-Semitic, okay? To put this on a list of organizations that promote colonialism, Zionism, this one was there for propaganda and normalization and Zionism. And yeah, this is normalization. Like, they just sort of nonchalantly promote the colonization of Israel. Like, it's a fucking day trip, like a fun summer program. Go and do some settler colonialism in Israel, guys. That's the way they promote it. It's under like the summer programs because everyone belongs. This is absolutely normalization / propaganda.
There's no room. They can't come there.
The other listed thing is Zionism. Yeah, Zionism. They are promoting the settler colonial immigration of people that are considered to be of the right ethnicity to Palestine, to move into a Palestinian house, to move into Palestinian land. This is a completely justified inclusion in this list. Yet it was framed by everyone, everywhere. Even the BDS National Commission had to denounce it and distance themselves from it, when there's literally nothing wrong with this. You will not find a single inclusion on this list which is not justified. You will not find a single organization on this list that does not verifiably receive some sort of support or promotion from the Israeli government, or that doesn't actively promote the colonization of Palestine. Every single one of them does. It really shows you how absolutely incredibly fucked up this discussion is, that this sort of thing is passed off as being anti-Semitic. You can literally map organizations, most of them being police stations and police groups and military stuff that actively support the Israeli colonization of Palestine, and get called an anti-Semite for it, and have supposedly pro-Palestine organizations distance themselves from you. And it's not because they're right, it's because they hold power. It's because the Israel lobby and the pro-Israel position, because Israel is a useful outpost for Western imperialism, holds a lot of power, and for that reason, any attacks on it need to be delegitimized, no matter how clearly legitimate they are, as this clearly is. And of course, the usual suspects denounced this. Aristocracy was complaining about it. Vorsh's subreddit was talking about how it's an anti-Semitic project or whatever. When click on any of these, let's cultural. Let's see what they have listed under cultural, because cultural, right? If there was any of these categories that would clearly be possibly just like attacking a place for being Jewish or whatever, rather than for actively supporting Israeli colonialism, it would be like a Jewish cultural center or something. Okay. This is the Seth Klarman and the Klarman Family Foundation. Seth Klarman is a Boston area billionaire who is a leader of a chief executive of a hedge fund and co-founder of the right-wing Zionist media outlet, The Times of Israel. According to this, they run an organization that financially sustains Zionist organizations and that support and enforce Israel's colonial domination of the Palestinians. Yeah, they donate money to the Birthright Israel Foundation. They donated $8 million to the Israel Project. The Israel Project were the guys who created that dystopic document for how to argue for pro-Israeli colonialism, by the way, that I mentioned in my big video on the drama on my main channel. They have literally donated to an Israeli military think tank, the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv, $1 million. You're telling me this is anti-Semitic? All of these institutions deserve to be included here, including the supposed innocent disability charity that sends disabled Jews to colonize Israel. You know, it's one thing to help disabled Jews. It's another to send them to fucking move into a Palestinian home as if they were on a fucking summer trip or something. This is such a fantastic example of everything that we talk about when it comes to the ridiculous claims of anti-Semitism. If there is a single organization here that doesn't deserve to be on the list, they haven't been able to point to it yet. It's a great example of the way these people frame pointing out simple facts about Israeli colonialism and the people and organizations who support it as anti-Semitism. It is vile bullshit. Nothing about the supposedly anti-Semitic mapping project is anti-Semitic. That Jewish organizations in the US, some of them, not all of them, support Israeli colonialism is something that it is completely fine to call out, just as it would be to call out, as I said earlier, Muslim organizations or whatever that happen to support Saudi Arabia, or like Christian organizations or whatever that happen to support homophobic or anti-choice causes, for example. Absolutely no fucking issue with it. It's no different to
Feels
that
like he
at all.
supports the Holocaust.
And yeah, what an amazing fucking example of how the bullshit false anti-Semitism allegations to support Israel work. That's definitely gonna be going into my video in the matter, but I just wanted to cover it on my stream beforehand to deal with it specifically.